I'm going to be doing a movie review of the Backrooms movie. It's based off the video game The Backrooms, which was in early access for a very long time. It was, you paid, it was pretty cheap, around like $12, I think it was, maybe $8. I don't know. It was pretty cheap. It was an indie game. It was very unique and all that stuff like that. They did end up producing a movie about it, so I am going to be watching the movie, especially since it's going to be based off the game. So I'm going to have pretty much the plot laid out, and I do like the transition from like games to like movies. Same thing with Mario. Mario has a movie. Sonic, I heard the Sonic has a movie, or something like that, or they're getting a movie, something like that. I don't know. I haven't seen the Sonic movie if it was even out yet. But yeah, I'm gonna do a movie review. I've done this before on like my friend's YouTube channel. I've done movie reviews on his channel, and we talked a little bit about movies and all that. I guess one thing I'm gonna say is that I do have plans for talking about the Gaza Strip, because Israel's doing nonsense. By nonsense, I mean they're destroying the conditions for civilian life. There's rat infestations, there's flooding, no clean water, and all that stuff. Destruction of public life. What's the IDF going to be like? They're going to be like, "You are Hamas for making this video, so we're gonna." All right, I'll stop right there. All right, anyways, that's kind of the video I'm gonna be making next. But yeah, let me go watch this movie real quick. So yeah, it was the day after. I watched The Backrooms yesterday, and what I'll tell you is that movie is a 10 out of 10. To me, it's perfect. Everything about the movie was literally perfect. Like, it honestly, because I played I played the game. I didn't really watch the show, but I played the game, and the game was literally like just exactly, exactly like the movie. I mean, like I don't know what to say. Like it was like literally like picture perfect, perfect, like picture perfect. And I even went on like Steam and I saw like the VR games, because like there's a VR game of the Backrooms which I didn't even know about, but it looked exactly like the movie would have looked, And the movie, for like the first like scene, everybody who watched the Backrooms knows the first scene where like the guy is being chased by the monster, or at least he's a scientist and like he's investigating the place. And like that scene really relates a lot with like the last scene, because the last scene is, it's the woman, she goes crazy and her perception of reality is completely altered. And I really do like that about the Backrooms, because like it was Chris, right? Was it Chris? Wait, what's time out? All right, not Chris, Clark. Clark. I really do like a lot about like what Clark was like, because like Clark was going crazy, but like the entire movie, or like he was explaining it when like he had her strapped up. He had her strapped up. He strapped up his therapist. He was explaining how what you're actually perceiving is reality just being warped. As you become more and more unhinged, more mentally unstable, then your psyche is trying to understand what it's trying to understand. So, for instance, there was the house, right? The house that, sorry, not Chris, Clark. The house that Clark was going to like recruit his two friends to like come over to like investigate the backrooms. That house was like beautiful. It was sound. It was furniture, or it was still dirty, but like it looked like a normal house. But like as like he became more like insane, the house like began to like morph. So it became barren, and then it opened up a hole, and then it looked like there was a giant hole in that, like, well, that was like a door sized hole to like the house. Because if you really think about it, all of the back rooms was really just doors. All of it was really like just doors that connected to other places. So like when they were thinking of the house, they were thinking of it in the terms of the back rooms, like how like this could connect to like a different hallway or whatever. So you see how like that, like it demorphs, or I don't know if there's a different word. Its changes to the environment are happening in relation to your psyche diminishing, or your psyche misremembering reality, actual reality. There's another case of that too with like Clark's, where like they were having like a therapy session. It was very normal. Where like he was very there was very clear difference between when he was mentally stable and he was having that conversation, when he was having that conversation with his therapist. What was her name again? Sorry. When he told Mary about the backrooms, it was very normal. Like you could tell he's a lot more mentally stable. He was a lot less, unhinged. So what he did do is he was explaining, the backrooms, and he was also explaining his relationship. And his relationship was kind of like as you would explain it to like a therapist. You would explain it, you would try to go through it, to go through your emotions. But then you get to the scene where he kidnaps Mary and he brings her into the house, and then everything is like you can clearly see that like he's clearly completely unhinged. He has like his friends in the room and they're all like puppets. And then he has his wife there too, and she's basically just a doll with like four eyes and stitched up and all that stuff. So like he's clearly like lost track of like what it is. And then like he even explains it too. He says that everything in this world is really furniture, but like it's becoming like unmorphed or malproportioned because of misremembering it, and really your psyche going crazy and you ultimately ending up as you did. Like he tried to like force Mary to like cosplay as his wife. So he literally took off her hair and he put it on her to like try to like mimic the therapy session. So he literally took off the top of her head to like literally cosplay as his wife, despite the fact that like her brain was exposed and all that stuff. And then he was talking about how like you can eat this stuff because it's furniture and try to feed it. So that scene also relates to Mary, because like Mary becomes like the main protagonist at this point, because she's the only person that's really kind of a little bit sane left. But after that, what happens is that because Mary becomes a lot more unhinged and becomes a lot more deranged, she starts saying Clark as a monster. So then a monster comes in and then it eats Clark, because he's talking about cannibalism. He's talking about eating people, but like he's saying that like they're just furniture, so we can eat them. It's good. We can eat them. So she starts thinking of him as more of a monster. So she starts going crazy, and then I think what happens is she summons a monster in her own imagination, and then that monster is Clark. And then that monster chases him or whatnot, because that kind of leads into mental deterioration as well. Or now she, at the end of the movie, because like this is towards the end of the movie, she starts going insane, and then she starts thinking of her life as a therapist. She's a therapist, so she would seek out therapy. So then there's a doctor, and then that doctor is giving her therapy, or explaining what's going on, explaining what is happening. And then she's increasingly becoming unhinged until her psyche completely breaks. She misremembers what she looks like. She misremembers what a room looks like. So like her house becomes completely barren. She has nothing in there. Uh, completely empty. Her face is four-eyed. She completely misremembers, complete psychosis, and she loses it basically. And then she's basically at this point, she's a mere imitation of herself. And that's kind of like what the first scene was representing. Like it was basically saying that like there's this, I don't know if it was Clark in the first scene, because I honestly don't remember, but there was that person that was going through the back rooms, and he was talking about how he went through there multiple times, and he said that this is the closest I've ever been. So like you can clearly see that like that person was there for a long time. I'm kind of just speculating though, because that person, I can't tell if like if the backrooms, if that movie is supposed to be referencing that like these are people's individual psychosis, and like how their mental capabilities deteriorate, or if it's all just one person's uh, psychological abilities that are just deteriorating. It's kind of hard for me to tell, but I assume that it's multiple people's psyche's deteriorating, and it kind of meshes well with one another because Clark was insane and he saw his wife as like furniture and four-eyed, and having an exposed brain and being able to like take off her hair, and then Mary saw her Clark as a monster, and then that monster ate Clark. So I feel like it all meshes together, and then that like figmentation of what society is. I feel like that's what the entire backrooms is, because like doors, safes, different furniture, obstacles and all that stuff, and all of that comes from someone's. It has to come from something, and that's to come from either a beginning, or it's all meshed together. I think it does. Uh, I think the backrooms does revolve around multiple people's interpretation of reality. So that's how it coalesced into like everything. At least that's the most logical thing that makes sense. Now I don't know what was happening with that with the guy who was high, and then like he saw somebody's head, you know, at the bottom of the the sloped angle, and then everybody got pulled in, and then Clark got abducted, and then everybody went insane, and then that's kind of a confusing event, but I do feel like it has to do with psychoanalysis abilities deteriorating. I really did like how it showed Mary's deterioration. I liked how it showed Clark's deterioration, and I really do like the first scene because that first scene was it was kind of pretty scary. Overall, it was a 10 out of 10 movie. Would watch it if I could wipe my mind. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good one. Peace out.